Greetings, fellow action figure connoisseurs, and welcome to another episode of Digital Caveman Presents Surprise Thursday. I, as always, am your host, the Digital Caveman, and today I will be presenting you with the Four Horsemen Studios Graveyard Skeleton 4-pack. Let's get into it! Let's start things off with a look at the packaging, and here on the top we've got the Four Horsemen's logo, and we've got some trees, and the whole packaging is done up nicely in like a black and white kind of horror type motif, I guess. And then here on the front we've got a nice huge window here showcasing, you know, the figures and accessories, at least for the most part. Got a little bit of graveyard skeletons going on here and a gravestone, but as you can see, it's like graveyard motif going on in the back. On this side we've got the Four Horsemen and their logo, nice gnarly cemetery tree, sourcehorsemen.com, and cemetery in the background there. On the other side, pretty much the same thing, gnarled tree and graveyard in the background. No Four Horsemen logo up there though. On the bottom here we got small print, fine print, legalese print, a barcode, storehorseman.com, the Four Horsemen logo. Warning! Don't stick things in your pie hole that do not belong there. And then finally, on the back we've got nice practical photography, which we have seen this photography before in the pre-sale, during the pre-sale. See the entire collection, visit sourcehorseman.com. And then here's some more small fine legalese print about the Four Horsemen Studio. And then the background here, we've got a small church and graveyard stuff going on. And that, my friends, completes our look at the packaging. Let's take a look at the figures and their accessories. And first up, we have handy dandy tweezers here to help us take a look at some of the smaller stuff. And we'll start with the extra sets of hands. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sets of hands in addition to the ones on the figure. And first up, we have a set of the grappling or grasping, they're coming to get you, Barbara hands. And I think this is stuff that we have seen before. And let me adjust the camera here a little bit. So I think we've seen these before. At least I've seen them before. They have that nice kind of grayish color to them and kind of a black wash, a light black wash. Might even be a dark gray wash, but yeah, I think it's black. At least that's the way it looks to me. And there's 2 of those. In and out hinges. Nice molded details. Very skeletal looking. Now we have a second set of the grasping, grappling, whatever hands that you want to call them. But these are a bit different. These have claws or talons. They're sharp and elongated fingers at the ends. But everything else about it that I said about the previous set holds true for this. Gray color, nice wash, and nice molded details. In and out hinge, and again it's a pair, so there are 2 of them. So those are nice. We'll set the tweezers aside for a second and we'll start looking at some of the weapon accessories. And here we have what I like to call the basic Mythic Legion shield. It has a nice, looks like gray to me, with a silver ring on the interior and silver rivets painted in, and maybe a black wash in the grooves there, and your standard Mythic Legion's shield handle there, no clips in this set. And there's two of these. They are exactly alike, except the wash might be a little bit different on each one. Next up, it comes with two of these swords. Nice silver paint app for the blade, and it does have a wash on it, and yeah, you can see it here on the camera. And you know, it gives it that dingy kind of, it's been buried look. And the wash is on the handle here as well. And you can see some paint scraping where I have been putting it in the skeleton's hands for pictures and such. They are very tight. It's not a Undead of Viking Fell situation where they're going to drop their weapons. Not at all. And I apologize about this ugly band-aid, but necessary. And again, there are two of these, and again, oops, this is the same as the other. The wash, of course, might be a little different on this one, but you can see nice bit here at the pommel and nice detailing here at the hand guard, and then nice detailing here in the handle as well. Another standard Mythic Legion's piece is the spear. I don't know if they consider this to be a standard Mythic Legion's spear, not at Four Horsemen Studios, but I certainly do, because I've seen it quite a bit. Generally, when there's a spear involved in this line, or in the Mythic Legion's line at least, this is the one. So it's got this nice silver paint app, but it's a really dark, almost grayish, perhaps even gunmetal-ish color. And then there is paint here on the shaft as well, because you can see here again where the paint has scraped on it, trying to get it in and out of skeleton's hands. And there's two of those exactly alike, and they, you know, pretty tall, long spear. So here we go back to the tweezers, and we have two sets of these pointing hands, and they're on in and out hinges, and nice molded detail. It's got that gray and that black wash, and you know, matches up with the skeletons. And there's a left one and a right one. Actually, there's two left ones and two right ones, and I'll only cover one set of them to kind of cuts down on the length of this video, or at least attempt to. So there's that. Here are the other two, and again, they're exactly the same. We've got two extra sets of grip hands, and these are on up and down hinges. Nice molded details, same color and wash in there. And again, like I said, nice or up and down hinges on this set. And here's the other set of grip hands with the up and down hinges. Where'd the other one go? There it is. So I'm glad to see that we got those. It also includes an extra pair of feet, which are larger, more, I guess, monstrous feet, like that extra grapple hand. You know, the toes on this, like those fingers, the ends they're a little bit longer, and it's a little bit wider, and overall it's a little bit longer than your standard foot. But that same gray color, that same great wash. And now that I'm looking at it, the wash looks on this a bit more gray, like a darker gray wash than black. So just correct what I said earlier, because it's a darker gray wash rather than a black wash. And of course it's a pair of feet, so there's two of them, a left one and a right one. Next up, let's take a look at the helmets or masks. I'm not sure exactly what you would call them, but there's this one. Looks like it's molded in a black plastic. It might be a really dark gray, and then it does have a wash on it too that looks like, I'm not sure, it could be gray, it could be brown, but anyway, it gives to you know, a dinginess to this. And you know, it's a broken skull that they've fixed to fit over their own skulls. And then here's this one. I think they're exactly the same, except one is white and one is not. So this one's kind of a bone white, and this one I do believe does have a black wash on it, which makes sense. It helps it stand out a little better, and it's down in the cracks and stuff too, to help the details stand out here on the teeth even. So very cool. The next head is, it's a vampire looking head to me, but it could be some kind of monster. And again, it's that same grayish color with the gray, dark gray wash on it. And you can see, look at his teeth. He's got like vampire teeth, maybe monster teeth, not human teeth. And so it looks really good. And it does have an articulated jaw. So very nice. And here we have the last alternate head, which is like a grayscale pumpkin head. And I'm sure this is reused from the Sleepy Hollow set, or the Headless Horseman set, the Figura Obscura Headless Horseman set. And you know, it looks neat in this kind of grayscale. It's got like the flame on the inside, looks like it's white with a black wash in it, and then I think there's a black wash on the outside, but it could again be that very dark gray. And it really gives this a very grayscale. I mean, the whole thing has a very grayscale look to it, except for a few pops of color here and there, like the white skull mask and the silver parts on the shield, the silver parts on the weapons. So we're only going to cover one of these guys because they're all the same. So I choose you, Pikachu. So let's take a look at the sculpt. And for those of you that were lucky enough to get that Mythic Legion Skeleton 2 or whatever it is, it's basically, it's the same as this, only it's more bone, actual bone colored. This again is kind of in a grayscale, and it looks like it's molded in gray plastic, and then it has a darker gray wash throughout the entire thing. The hands and feet, you know, we've seen on skeleton folks before. They're very nicely detailed, and you know, there's lots of details throughout this guy. I mean, you see a spine up in here, you know, nice molded bits for the rib, the pelvis. I mean, it's nicely molded overall. And the only issue I really have with this guy is maybe like the arms and legs aren't really anatomically correct size, but these do tend to I don't know, support better, do better poses than something that has thinner arms and legs. But I guess it all just depends on your own personal preference. So, nice deco, nice sculpt. Even on the back here, I mean, you can see the ridges on the spine, the coccyx. Very, I mean, it's very detailed. It's just, you know, the sizing of the arms and legs might throw some people off if you're expecting something that's anatomically correct. And as far as like the torso goes, you know, that looks pretty correct to me, except, you know, for the ports in the back where you can put wings or armor pieces or what have you, if you want to differentiate your skeleton warriors up a little bit. So let's talk about their articulation a bit. The head is on a ball joint, and he will look up that high, and he looks down that low. No chicken neck. He does have tons of waggle though. He will do the full exorcist. And just like the vampire skull, all 4 of the regular human style skulls have hinged jaws. And I think that's an important piece of articulation for a skeleton to have. You know, that's just my opinion. You might not care if they open their mouths or not. But I think, you know, it can add a dimension of creepiness factor to your skeletons. So at the shoulder, he can raise his arm up well past 90 degrees, or, you know, a bit past 90, not super far, but anyway. Does have a 360 degree rotation there. Single hinge and swivel at the elbow, swivels around 360 degrees, and it bends slightly better than 90 degrees, I do believe. 360 degree rotation at the wrist. It's on an in and out hinge, and then in and out on the other side as well, but you can swap them out for up and down hinge. So right in here, there's a ball joint at the top of this portion of the spine, and it gives him all kinds of hula. It does give him a 360 degree rotation. He bends back barely, and then forward he crunches about that high, and of course, you know, he leans left and right. So there's that. Nothing at the waist because it's up here in the torso. At the hips, that one's a little stuck. So at the hips, they give you the full splits plus. So that's really flexible. Also at the hips, I guess, you know, without swinging the leg out, he gets that much of a kick forward, which is way up there. And then without swinging it out, not quite 90 degrees back, but if you swing it out a little bit, you know, it will do the full 360. There is a single hinge and swivel at the knee. Swivels around 360 degrees and gives you slightly better than a 90 degree bend. And there's detents in here for sure. You can definitely feel them. Now, because of the way the foot's put in there, it's on a peg. I mean, well, you know, just like this. So, with that being the case, it does have a swivel right there. It's pretty tight, but that's okay. And then tilt at the ankle, tilts down that far and tilts up that far. And then he does have a pin for rocker, or they, because this deals with all 4 of the skeletons. So, as far as anything goes, I will say that if you're swapping out parts, heat them up. Try to heat the parts that need to be flexible. So like if you're changing out the feet, heat up the legs. Don't heat up the feet. Don't heat up the ankle parts because that's going to cause some issues. So heat up the legs, changing out the hands, heat up the arms. You know, as best you can. There's going to be times when, you know, you hit it with a blast of heat from your heat gun or dip it in water or whatever. Which mode of heating you choose, that's fine. Like if you're swapping out this head, I'd heat this head up before I tried to pop it on the body. I was doing that earlier. I didn't break the neck piece off of one of my skeletons, but luckily the way it's designed, it wasn't difficult to get it glued back on, and hopefully it will stay glued on. Well, there you have it, my friends. A look at the figures and their accessories. It's time for my favorite part of a review, comparisons. And here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Graveyard Skeleton with the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions Necronominous Waves, Maxilius the Harvester, and the Four Horsemen Studios Mythic Legions, I think, Legion Builder Waves, Skeleton Legion Builder. Here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Graveyard Skeleton from the Graveyard Skeleton 4-pack. With the Boss Fight Studios Epic Hacks Barbarian Deathmonger. And from Harbinger Studios, the Savage Crucibles Who-Man. For our last set of comparisons, here we have the Four Horsemen Studios Graveyard Skeleton, with from the Marvel Legends series making his cameo appearance, Stan the Man Lee. From G.I. Joe Classified series, the Hasbro Pulse exclusive Regal variant Cobra Commander. From Star Wars The Black series, the Archive Edition 501st Legion Clone Trooper. And for a 7-inch scale comparison from the Masters of the Universe Masterverse line, the 40th Anniversary He-Man. For final thoughts on the Four Horsemen Studios Graveyard Skeletons 4-pack, I have to say, it's not officially Mythic Legions. It's not really Figura Obscura, but you can fit it in either one of those lines because, you know, they all use the same basic pieces, I suppose you could say. You know, you can pop and swap in between all of the Four Horsemen Studios lines. And with that said, of course, you know, I'm going to fit this one into my Mythic Legions because I did miss that Skeleton 2, Skeleton Warrior 2, whichever one it was, the whiter one on the single card. And I did miss that one. And thankfully, they did come around with this 4-pack, even though this is more grayscale and it doesn't, you know, kind of fit in with the other skeletons as much. But so, you know, there's skeletons in the Mythic Legions line that are different colors. There's red ones, yellow ones, green ones, I guess. So, you know, it's not like it's out of the ordinary in the line to have skeletons a different color. And I do really like the grayscale of these figures, except for the pumpkin head. It looks okay in the grayscale, but I think I would actually prefer it in color, but it wouldn't really go in with this set. And, you know, all the skeleton heads have articulated jaws, which I love. I think it is a vital piece of articulation on skeleton figures. And again, that's my opinion. Your mileage, of course, may vary, and it probably does. You know, you might not care if your skeletons have articulated jaws or not, but I appreciate that extra bit of articulation in skeletons for whatever reason. I don't know. I guess maybe they can laugh at you or act like they're screaming at you or try to bite you, maybe. You know, just being skeletons, I suppose. I don't know. I'm just talking out of my butt now. So I do appreciate the accessories that come with this pack. You know, not just the weapons like you see here. 2 swords, 2 spears, 2 shields. But you get the 2 skull masks for the skeletons to wear. You get, you know, the pumpkin head, which again, you know, I could have used a different head than that. But, you know, I mean, it's okay. It's not horrible. You get an extra set of feet, the larger, more clawed monster type skeleton feet. You get that monster skeleton head, which is, I guess, it's got fangs on it, so maybe it's a vampire. Would be my guess. The black mask, the white mask, and just a bunch of hands. And especially, I like that it comes with 2 sets of grip hands that are up and down hinged, rather than just in and out hinged. So I like that as well. Some of the downsides, I guess, to this set is, again, you know, I'm not in the grayscale. I'm not that big a fan of the pumpkin head, as it turns out. Again, it's okay, but to me, I think we could have got something else, because in the grayscale, like in color, it probably is fine. In the grayscale, not as much. I mean, the sculpt and stuff is still nice. It's just the paint that kind of throws it off. The grip hands do grip a little tight for the spears, as I showed earlier. You know, there's a lot of paint scraping going on when you're trying to get the spears into the skeleton's hands. Maybe that's just me because I'm lazy and I'm sliding it into his hand rather than trying to fight with it and open it up and heat it up and, you know, all of that good stuff, just to get a spear in his hand. But that's, you know, something to be aware of, that paint scraping will occur if you do just try to slide the spears into the skeleton's grip hands. And that's, you know, on the in and out or the up and down hinged, because the hands are the same, the grip is the same on either set of hands. And, you know, but on the other hand, I do like that it grips things so tight, because you don't have that Undead of Vikenfell issue where stuff just falls out of their hands. So in the end, I guess I say I like these guys. It was a good buy. I originally had 2 on order, one from Store Horsemen, which is this set, and I did have one from Big Bad Toy Store on pre-order, which I ended up canceling, deciding I could spend that $100 better. Maybe not better, but differently at least. So I figured, you know, 4 grayscale skeletons was enough. Coupled with my green screen, I could, you know, make as many skeleton warriors as I want for pictures and stuff. Not that that always looks the best. I think practical photography is a better medium than green screening or digital, especially digital renders. But, you know, that's what I have. I don't have a lot of physical sets to do that type of practical photography with, so I'll just have to stick with the green screen. But again, overall, not necessarily Figura Obscura, not necessarily Mythic Legions, but you can fit it either or, both, however you want to do it. Well, that does it for the review. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed making it. Only support from viewers like you make this programming possible. Each view does count, and I do appreciate each and every single view I receive. Thank you, and thank you so very, very much for supporting this channel through viewing. If you are interested in supporting my channel further, I am now offering memberships at various tiers. Click the join button on my YouTube page, or check this video's description for the link and see if any membership offers are right for you, but only if you are in a position to do so. Comment below, like, share, subscribe if you would like to see more content or just help the channel grow, or both, that's even better. And don't forget to ding that bell so that in the future you will be notified as my new content becomes available. That's a wrap, folks. I'll see you next time.